Hey everyone! This video is an addendum to my last world building video, which you should go watch before this. This video is answering questions and doing discussion with comments I found interesting enough to have things to talk about. So, here are some comments that I think are interesting.
I personally had the idea that the Alternian Empire has a purple equivalent of 40k space marines and many purplelets in the military join their ranks. Purplelets are basically naturally fast, but that's us anyway in terms of strength and constitution, and their subtle voodoo would significantly enhance their performance on the battlefield.
That is generally a good idea, and I do think that Purple Bloods would join the Spec Ops that I talked about in the Olive section. But the absolute strongest Purple Bloods would have their own sect of military, mostly in control by the church so they can get specialized training to fully unlock their magical potential and general murderous intent. Could be seen as weird outcasts by the rest of the casts due to the weird deep religious ties of the group, but are seen by other juggalos as the true warriors of the Empire. I think that kind of thing would give some good friction between Purple Bloods and everyone else. But in general, Purple Bloods would take more violent jobs, working with their natural strength and access to chuckle voodoos. Overall, a good idea.
In my head canon, most Alternian wargear including body armor has that organic/goo/insectoid kind of design of normal objects from 211 with invented in a slime material.
This is kinda how it goes for me. I like all the cool insectoid goo aesthetic a lot of troll culture uses, and I think transferring that to their armor is a good idea. While I'm not good enough of an artist yet to visually show off my ideas, I can speak them to you like poets of old, and those with aphantasia can get fucked. For armor, I think it would be a mix of old 80s and 90s special forces style look, but rather than the normal body armor they would have, that chitinous, segmented armor covering their vitals and other spots. Basically what I'm thinking of is the cross between an SAS officer and a knight with bug stuff. Unironically, a lot of Common Rider looks like what I think would work. Well, for what I've got going on, where the armor is more of an exoskeleton you put on. But also, I like the Raiden scuba mask and suit combo from MGS2 a lot, so something simpler like that could also work. Overall, the aesthetics for the Trollian War Machine has a lot of potential. Thank you.
You will learn how to buy and use the materials worker I will throw rocks at you and call you a clever life is bad 3052.
Okay, fine. I'm not the best with this, but I'll get into it to the best of my abilities as someone who doesn't know anything about this. I think it's obvious how it works. Planets, either staffed by aliens or lowbloods, produce, let's say, for example, food. It is produced and taken by supply ships to be delivered to the depots where they're sorted through and given to other ships to be brought where they are needed to be. This whole process is ignoring planets and other places that produce and consume on site. This whole transport part of the job is highly dangerous, due in part to pirates and rebels. This makes these space trucker jobs some of the most highly respected positions that aren't direct frontline soldiers, although most do have bodyguards. But yeah, like I said, I don't know this stuff too well, so I'm not going to think about this too hard.
Something I think you can expand on is why I'm most probably can be number one. You may have some sort of power that the common finds threatening. It is something that happened in all CS history. Some sort of line was a driving sign in Addendum. Wouldn't you want to destroy a whole class of people that could potentially be used as soldiers for no reason?
This was something complained at me by my editor, specifically that I didn't explain it enough, and you can see in the vid that I used text to try and explain it a bit better. Didn't really do much explaining, but here we are. So, why are Limebloods the number one on the kill list? During the fledgling era of the Empire, two things were happening. A very rowdy species looking for a reason to kill, and lots of rebellions happening. The Condess needed two things. She needed to calm down her incredibly violent populace, and she needed to scare rebellions into backing off. The best option for her was to kill a caste. Just completely genocide them. Show how powerful her empire is. How she shouldn't be trifled with. But which caste? That's the question. All the castes have an important role to play. The higher castes suppress the lower ones, and most of the lower castes have been mutated beyond recognition in various helpful ways. But then there are the Limebloods, relatively unmutated, mostly untouched by those running the Empire. Their deaths would not be a burden. Their deaths would not be a burden. So then it was called No Survivors. You could do whatever you wanted to a Limeblood. Laws don't apply to those who aren't good enough. The society that they lived in and helped turned against them. The rowdy trolls got to indulge in their violence, and the rebellions, seeing the power that the Condesce had, retreated into the shadows or fell in line, hoping their caste wouldn't be put next on the chopping block. The reason it's still a rule today is mostly tradition, mixed with common enemy. Propaganda saying that limes are dangerous to the Empire, and you. Good to have someone you can always hate. Also because Doc Scratch / Lord English / Caliborn was helping running the show, and fucking over the cast most closely related to Calliope would be very in character. There's your explanation. I hope my editor also finds this satisfying enough. Yes, but also, no, it's not happening. But honestly, just in general, the whole Condesce sufferer relationship thing is pretty interesting to look at. Two characters so opposed to one another. Lots to dig into.
Now I wonder if they own a sapient alien species as exotic pets like how people have kids. Monkeys or girls as pets, or if they import different creatures to different planets, including Autonia.
Yeah, probably. Slavery does feel very in the MO of the Empire, and having your own personal Xeno-slaves is even better. Better than any animal. Why have that when you can have someone that can bring you drinks? Despite most Highbloods having some type of biomechanical thing helping them, a fully sapient person would be such a better companion. Here we are. Main thing I wanted to talk about totally, and it's, troll porn. Primarily, how it's fully banned. The trade and viewing of porn is fully illegal and can even get you cold. The reason for this is that porn makes you waste your genetic material. Troll society is a seemingly attention society, and the ham sandwich rustbloods must bow down to their superiors. Why waste it on the floor or something when you could be mixing it with another troll to make viable slurry to make more soldiers for the meat grinder? There's your troll porn vid. I'm actually planning to make a fic about this.
Hello, that sounds into their electrical indicator, but I've always loved this because I have been a very great care of the many cats could become helmet if their eye on it's right enough.
While I do think that's a neat idea, and I could bring that into my own story, having Rustbloods forcibly put into ships when they need an emergency thrower, that I might bring that into the plot at some point, but like you said, the whole electrical psionics thing contradicts them being full-time helmsmen.
The hatred between Purpleblood and Firebloods is what prevents them from joining up and fighting Gandhi, and at the same time both of them are kept in check to not kill each other under the threat of the Swan Song. And personally I don't think Gandhi has EG is very restrained when she cannot miss to go off planet like any other adult if she didn't have sort of control over him. I highly doubt he would just do that.
I didn't feel like I needed to explain this that much, since this is how real-life casts work. The higher castes bully and use their power over the lower ones, even through violence, money, and fear. This is also class, yada 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 yada. I don't mean for this to come off like mean or anything, I'm sorry if it does. But since I did bring up the Grand Highblood having a lot of power, I should have specified something. Well, 1, everyone is off-planet, this is post-canon Alternian society, and 2, the Grand Highblood having power is a new development when Gamesy took the title of TGH. Before him, the Purple Bloods are, as you described, restrained and docile, but with the new leadership, they have been gaining more power, still listening to the Condesce, but pushing with what they can try and get away with. They aren't some rebel faction that the Condesce can't control, but they aren't a bunch of pushovers either. I primarily did this so it forces the Condesce to be more proactive in her planning and as her actions as a character. While it could be interesting for her to relax with another branch of the Empire she can easily use, having a faction inside the Empire that could fuck stuff up adds more tension to the setting as a whole. Also, when you say Swan Song, I assume you're talking about the Vast Glub. And to that, I say, Condi, at the point her empire is at, is not willing to risk pulling something like that. So, overall, they have to do their job of pushing the lower caste down, but have started to show that they can throw their weight around if need be.
Would it be okay if I film a reaction video to this AU proposal? I recently started writing my very first fanfiction and it's a homestuck one. The working title is The Ambassadors.
Where's the reaction, Lebowski? I want that reaction, Lebowski. You say you're good for it. Where's the reaction, Lebowski? Where's the reaction, Lebowski? Where's the fucking reaction, shithead?
Also, yeah, that fic was interesting.
There should be an additional position for Rust Bloods of particular psychic powers. Specifically, those who can call upon, commune with, command, control and overall have powers over the dead.
TLDR, I forgot that Rusts have ghost-related psionics. A lot of what this person is laying down is interesting. The death-connected psionics leading to powerful positions if they're strong enough is basically what I was going for. Like, there isn't much to add here. Just, like, read through it and pretend it's a part of the original video. If I had remembered that Rusts had these powers, I would have included it. All of it has the right amount of weirdness and horror of society. Basically everything I was going for.
I would love it if you expanded on the Jade religion thing. I would like to know about the Jade religion. I would like to know about the Jade religion, if you can figure it out.
For Purple Bloods, I'm keeping it mostly vague. I want to do this to keep some amount of mystery of how they actually function, and while another section does describe them some, I think keeping their structure and beliefs somewhat hidden keeps a good air of intrigue around them. As for Jades, I'm not going to explain it too much. I think keeping them obtuse and vague adds to them by allowing your brain to fill in the gaps. Truly wonder what the fuck is going on. But I will describe a little. Jades mostly believe in a cycle of rebirth through the Mother Grub, with the Mother Grub and her protector seen as a duality of life and death, the spirit of the Mother Grub possessing all Jade Bloods. That's all the explanation you're getting, go fuck yourself. Just kidding.
We need to know, what about Colonel Sassiker? Is he still with the contest?
You can tell this person didn't read Skynet system archives. They've been broken up for a very, very, very long time. No, he is not, but they did have some nasty sex.
Maybe. The higher bloods also can pick which low bloods trolls will serve them after they became adults. Like Equius could pick Aradia and Dariden pick Solux to work with him.
This is a cool idea that could be added to the story, but all the ideas I have would fall apart if I did this, so no, this isn't being considered, I'm sorry. But it is a very hot idea, so I'll consider it for more personal writings.
I felt like it would make more sense, or just be cooler, if Violet Bloods and their faces got red as a reference to Orphan Reducer.
Oh my fucking god, I can't believe I forgot about all that. All art of him has that shit, how did I forget? I guess we can add that on to the physical punishment for Violet Bloods. Violet Bloods have a horn ripped off, and either a large scar torn across their face or have one half mangled. I would like to thank everyone for leaving comments, but one person wrote so much, like 7 paragraph long comments, that I'm putting 2 of their comments into one section. Anime Freak Shijo wrote a fuck ton of stuff, and so let's look at 2 of them.
They are great with development of tech, so what if they test if you could be good programmers, save those but keep them far from general overload to prevent giving them power, keep becoming a battery as a threat of punishment to keep them in line. And keep the group small, maybe even have a population limit so it's competitive, like if you don't do well enough they will turn you into a battery and replace you with a new one who just finished their reef.
That's actually an incredible idea. Having some yellow bloods, one with proficiency in tech, not instantly be gutted but brought into a death game where they have to constantly make new software and hardware under threat of being gutted into a ship is crazy good. You basically explained the whole thing, so I don't have much to add other than, it's good. GitHub, but if you don't get enough forks and downloads, you get cold.
I think the structure is more fun, a very subjective thing, but on a world-building level their culture being a caste system with specialized titles and such is such a core part of their fascist structure and how they keep power and control. And in the few times of canon we do hear of a dull troll society, we see that caste system being core aspects.
Yeah, the whole mixed approach is just because that's more fun to write. Keeping everyone separate, including their weapons separating them, is more real for this setting, but mixing blood colors and weapons leads to more interesting character moments and fights. But most of the time, even if casts mix, trolls are more than happy to laud their positions over lower bloods, so that's my excuse. But you are right, and I think that being a weakness of the Empire is, well, also interesting. For the second part, something very similar happens in the story multiple times, so I'm glad that was a natural thing someone thought of, but I do hate that a Gamtab shipper had to think of it. Sigh. Yeah, this wasn't a long video. It was just a small little addendum. I might do a 500 subscriber special. You're not gonna guess what the fuck it's gonna be, but I'm also planning on doing a For Honor video that'll come out at some point, and then I might do another Deltarune video, looking at a more like analytical type thing rather than the whole theory thing. I don't know though. We'll see what happens. Well, like, subscribe. Also, leave more comments. You know, something I realize now is that Beyond Canon is a lot like being a Gold Blood, where every second is unimaginable pain and suffering, but you kind of push through it until you die.